Spins and spins. Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to Beyond the Page. I'm Jennifer Crosswhite, book coach and editor, with my normal co-host Stephanie Feger, the book strategy marketing guru. And today, as our special guest, we have Jenn Grace from Publish Your Purpose, and she's going to talk to us about all the wonderful things with her publishing company, how they work, and her ideal author. So very excited to be with you today and have this great discussion. And of course, we have to start off with our coffee mug. I've got the J today for the J's. And
can I just say, Miss Crosswhite over there, those of y'all listening, the Jenns, it's confusing already. So we have Crosswhite and Grace. That's what we're going with. But Miss Crosswhite over there, I have never known someone who has so many mugs. Since we've been doing this, you have never replicated a mug.
Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy, which is awesome, but crazy. That one kind of looks Christmassy. Let me see it again.
I think it's like, I think we got them at Target one year. We got everybody's mugs with their own little initial on them. So yeah, I think they were kind of, but I like it. It might have actually been my son's, because he's Josh, but I stole it.
Wait, does your daughter have a J name? Are you one of those?
No, but my brothers do. Jennifer, Jeremy, and Jason.
Oh my God. So your parents did it before it was cool. Cause like it's now super cool now. So they were just,
they did it on accident. So they named me and Jeremy, not really thinking about the J thing. They just liked the names. And then when my youngest brother was born, my mom was certain he was going to be a girl. So his name was supposed to be Heather Nicole. He was not a girl. And so then they waited 5 days to come up with a name. And my dad was like, well, let's just stick with the J theme and let's call him Jason. So that's
fun.
It wasn't really planned out.
I love that. I have 3 kids, but 2 of them have the same first letters, but it's not my first and second. It's my second and third. It was not intentional. Eli, and then I have a Lindy and a Luke. So maybe if I'd have done it in retrospect, we'd have figured out something. But anyways, that aligns with what my mug is.
Yes. Okay. What is it? Mama bear.
Mama bear.
Love it.
And here's the cute part. Hold on. Can you see?
Oh,
I know. It's the little touches in the mug that keeps me happy. Cute. Yes, I'm totally Mama Bear. It's a problem.
I love it. All right. Jenn Grace. Yes. Let's see.
All right. So I brought my largest mug I could find. So this is like this type that's like the size of your head type of mug.
Yes.
Right? Gosh, and it is a comedian that I follow who I love dearly named Dina Blizzard. And so on the back side of it, it says, I love you, get away from me.
Oh, that's just perfect for introverts. Yes. Right? That is perfect. I love it.
Yes.
It's one of my that way every day.
Hold on. I got to ask you, Miss Grace, when you're holding the mug, because Jenn and I, or Miss Crosswhite, have had the conversation before on what side of the
way
mug
do you hold your mug,
right? Because if you're holding it your way, I'm wondering if I like you get away from me is what the rest of the world sees. Like, is that how it works?
I would hold it this way just because I give the vibe of like, don't talk to me. And I will use it on a Zoom, and I'm not afraid to be like, no, because I do. I love you, but I don't need you in my space. It gives off a nice subtle message.
Yes. This is why we're in the business that we're in, because words, things on page, they just don't irritate you the way humans do. I love my humans.
I have to ask you all a question about that, since we're going down that path. I'd love your all's thoughts. So I remember the days before being able to get your email on your phone, like before the BlackBerry showed up, right? And then you could go to work and you were mentally prepared for whatever email came through, right? But then they started coming through on your phone on times that were really annoying in your own life. Mm-hmm. And since then, I have noticed that, because you mentioned the written word and all that stuff, and you have time to if I get something on my phone and I look at it, I have a different emotional reaction than I do if I have my caffeine and I'm mentally prepared for the day and come in. Do you all have that same, like, for instance, I try really hard to not respond on phone because that could be a little, and I don't mean to, or I've read it and it has like I think it has a negative connotation and it's not meant to. Like, do you guys feel that, or am I just crazy?
No, I definitely do. I don't respond to emails on my phone hardly ever. Like I have to be like out for a very long time and feel like I like urgently have to respond to something, but otherwise I don't even open my email on my phone most of the time. Like sometimes, like in the beginning of the day, like I'll just be like, let me just see how much is going on in the inbox quick, but then I won't actually do anything with it.
Yes, I feel the same way. That's so interesting. I mean, I like typing better than on my phone. I don't like typing a lot on my phone anyways. So if it's any sort of lengthy reply, it's got to be on the computer. And I'll shoot an email like, Steph, I would shoot an email back to you on my phone, but and a few close friends.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't do it I don't answer client emails that way at all. And I've been sitting there and saying to myself this week, it's so interesting. Every time I open my email on my phone, I have to find something to unsubscribe from because I get so sick of opening it and seeing, 100 emails in there. And most of it's just stuff I delete anyway. So if I'm going to delete you, I might as well just unsubscribe from you. So it carries like this psychic weight of everything in your inbox. And I only want stuff in there that I actually have to deal with. So yeah, it is not fun. It used to be fun. Email used to be fun 30 years ago, or whenever, 20, I don't know how long it's been.
I think it's a matter of filtering your emails. So like I'm all about efficiency. Like that is my jam, which is why I don't read my emails on my phone. But I have filters that like, if I have like our authors are in one folder, like everything just filters to its own folder. So when I'm in my inbox, it's only things that didn't go somewhere else. So it's something that, I might need to address. It might be an introduction from somebody. It might be, someone I don't know. Whereas I can like be really efficient and just kind of crank through like, okay, now I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes just going through the emails from authors of ours that I owe responses to. And I'm able to like section out my time to be just more efficient that way. So I think that kind of helps with the overwhelm.
Yeah, I should do a better job. I have set up filters and I never look at anything in the filter folders. So if I filtered you, I will never look at your email again.
Right? If it's not in my inbox, I don't see it. Hey, terrible. I have to tell you all something. I was spending some time this morning working on helping an author get their LinkedIn kind of up and nice and ship-shaped and looks great. And Jen, I was just checking to make sure that we're live, which I know we are, but I didn't get a notification about it. So I was just looking and I went to your profile and I don't know if people know this, but this is why you should totally take advantage, authors out there, marketing tip, and I promise we'll talk about publishing here in like a second, but marketing tip out there. You should obviously be turning creator mode on in LinkedIn. If you're not, it's really important. And it unlocks things. Jen, I did not know this, but I'm sharing this right now. Okay. When you are doing a live, your cover photo, it's not showing right now, shows up with your live in live.
Oh, look at that. That's nifty.
I did not, this is a new thing. So it is like not only something that's posted, but it shows up in your little cover block. Nice. So it is another promotional tool for authors out there. If you're not using live, consider it. And it's fun. We have fun.
It is fun.
Wednesdays are fun.
Yeah. They are.
I know.
Okay. Well, let's get to the actual subject of today, which was not email. We asked Jenn Grace to come because we had talked a few weeks ago about the publishing options, right? There's a lot of different publishing options, anything from traditional publishing to self-publishing to hybrid publishing. And the hybrid publishing space can look really different depending on every publisher. What did they do? How did they do it? What is their purpose? All of that kind of thing. So we thought, hey, Jenn Grace would be a perfect person to come in and talk about how her company, Publisher Purpose, how they work, and what kind of authors are they looking for. So Jenn, take it away.
Well, that's kind of a broad umbrella.
It is. Feel free to go anywhere you would like.
Please. Well, I'll start with where I feel like our commonality lies in just kind of talking with you both independently and knowing that there's some kind of collaboration brewing. I have no idea what it is. Going back to the Colby assessment we were talking about before, Jen, of like the quick start. Like, I don't know what it is, but like something has to happen. And so we're just going to throw it into the universe and see where it goes. But what I think the commonality among the three of us is that, and these are my words, I'm not putting words into either of your mouths, but the publishing industry is so predatory. It just preys on people who don't know what they're doing. And it preys on people, especially first-time authors. And I feel like if nothing else, in the way that we all kind of support authors, we have that kind of front and center in mind of knowing that there's so many bad players out here that we have to operate with the utmost integrity and ethics at all times. And it just comes naturally to, I think, all three of us, because I feel like if you have integrity, you shouldn't have to like try to have integrity. You know what I mean? Like that shouldn't be a skill you're trying to build. Like
that
you should
defeats the purpose. That defeats the purpose.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. So like, I feel like that to me, it kind of was just like a foundational statement is that this industry can be really terrible. And it's unfortunate because so many first-time authors get very much taken advantage of. And it breaks my heart when I talk to somebody and they say, oh, I wish I had talked to you a month ago, or I wish I don't know how often that has happened to either of you, because we all function in very different ways supporting an author, but at the same time, like I'm sure you both hear this all the time too.
All the time.
Heartbreaking.
It really is. Yeah.
It's
very sad.
Jen.
No, I was going to say, and that's part of why we want to have this discussion, and part of why, Stephanie and I are doing this weekly LinkedIn Live is to help people, educate them on the process, educate them on all of the steps and all of those pieces, because it is heartbreaking to have someone come to you and say, I just spent all of this money and there's like nothing to show for it, or it's a very poor quality product. And we're like, if you just talked to me first, I could have helped you, and it's really, really sad. But people don't know what they don't know because they're not in the industry and they have no idea. And so that's the part that's really heartbreaking and frustrating.
Well, and layer onto that too, I didn't know what I didn't know. You all probably, well, I know Miss Grace over there, when we chatted recently, you were like, yeah, my first book or two, like I had to go back and fix the more that I learned, right? So anybody listening right now, don't like be beating yourself up if you're like, man, I should have found these three amazing women before. Like we should have found us before too, but we didn't know, but we learned, and and maybe it is the quick start or the way our brains work or the fact that integrity is a part of our DNA or whatever, right? But it started to bubble up in all three of us of how we can really help people and do it in a way that helps people empower other people. Like, how do you do that? Because that's why people are choosing the written word as a tool to spread a message. So don't get hung up on the fact that you don't know and that's overwhelming. But find the people who do and ask questions. Jen, Miss Grace over there, I'm curious. As a publisher, I think some people, I'd be curious on your thoughts. Do some people come to you and don't ask questions and just take what you bring to the table as face value? Or do you, I know your answer, it will be yes, to encourage question asking. But do you find that some people just don't even know the right questions to ask?
That is exactly it. And it's almost like we planned what I'm going to say, even though we didn't, is that I actually have a blueprint that's called the 9 questions you should ask your prospective publisher. Like I have a blueprint that directly addresses this, because there's way more than 9, but these are like the big pillar questions to be asking. And it's more so to just kind of inform and educate, because a lot of times, for whatever reason, our publishing house might not be the right fit. But just because we're not the right fit does not mean that I don't want what's in that person's best interest. So I say, here's the blueprint, go have a conversation with somebody else, but make sure you're asking these really important questions to avoid yourself from being taken advantage of. On the other side of this, when someone does work with us, I actually had this conversation with a new author just the other day. And when I will say, all right, let's get on a call. We'll go through the contract together. We're going to go through. I want you to read the fine print, and I want you to ask me questions of things you don't understand. If we send something via sign request and they send it back in like 5 minutes, I know they didn't read it. So then I will be like, okay, I really need you to just know what you're actually engaging in. And we're not doing anything predatory. So, which is why I'm like, please read it. I want to make sure there's nothing that you're going to be confused by or surprised by down the road. But in our industry, as we both, all three of us know, that is like exactly the opposite of what they want people doing. They want you to sign that really predatory contract and be like, oh, wow, I'm getting to publish my book for $500. And you're like, oh my God, this is an amazing deal. And then you look in the fine print and you have to order $20,000 worth of books. And that great deal just turned into a huge investment and a ton of inventory and a waste of the environment, because all those books are going to sit and go nowhere.
And you know how much space that many books takes up? A lot. It's a lot of space in your
Yes.
garage,
It's like a
right?
pallet. It's like an entire
It is.
pallet worth of books, and people
Yeah.
don't have space for that. And then, our
No.
company is a B Corp. And so what that means is that we are committed to the environment and sustainability. And so
Yes.
for us to have anything even remotely like that would be in such opposition to kind of how
Yeah.
we operate in general. Because having a pallet of books that aren't going to sell in someone's garage, and it doesn't create the impact that I think all three of us also have that commonality, is that we're doing this
Right.
work because we want people to be impacted by the work of the
Yes.
authors that we serve.
Yeah. And our industry now, this is an interesting topic. You mentioned it. I'm going to go down there. Some publishers would require you to buy inventory. That's actually part of how they make their money, right? Like, it's just reality. Others leverage print on demand platforms, and there isn't any inventory required. Jen, do you have an opinion on those?
I think for most people, and I'll hop in, and then the other Jen can
I
take
realized
over.
I didn't. Any Jen. Any Jen.
Unless you're a speaker or you're someplace where you are selling books, like you go to speak and you sell books in the back of the room. Some people like the homeschooling market, if you're writing something for there where there's big conferences and you're going and you're selling your book there, and you can make some money having a larger print run, because print on demand, the per unit price is not the best bargain price. Like with anything, the more you do, you get volume discount. So, but in most authors are not in those situations. So in their case, having 500 books is not going to be in their best interest. For most people, print on demand is going to be the way to go. You can order 20 copies, you can order 50 copies, you can do what you like with it. You can order 2 copies, right? So for most people, the print on demand is going to be great because it's going to match the demand with the printing process versus the 20,000 books sitting in your garage. So a few people, can benefit from a print run, but most authors will not. But Jen, I'd love your take on that too.
I'm in complete agreement with you. And that's like one of the things that I feel like makes us a little bit different from on a publishing landscape, because we don't require a single order. Like, our authors could never order a single book through us, and that's not our business model. So it does not matter.
Exactly.
Obviously we want them to be, because that means that they're out there doing good work and they're promoting it and they're at conferences and they're speaking and all that great stuff. But at the end of the day, the amount of waste that comes from those large print runs is astronomically high. And again, that's in complete opposition to just my personal values and of course the values of the company, because we're just wasting and destroying, so many trees unnecessarily. And the other quick thing about this that I also think is an important thing, we all know typos.
I was going to say the same thing.
Right? The typos slip in. And so what we advise our authors is order whatever books you need for the immediate release. Give them to friends, give them to family, because when inevitably somebody comes to you and says, I don't want to be the bearer of the bad news, but there's an extra period on page 83. I don't want that typo in there any more than they do. And so I would rather you just say, hey, it's been a month. We found a typo. We fix it. Then you can go order however many books you please, because no one wants to sell a book that has a typo in it. It just makes us feel like an imposter, right? Where you're because I've had that happen with my own books. I've written 6 of them. I know how this rolls, where I'm I don't even want to give this away because I know there's a typo on page 22.
Right.
I think it's like karma. If you decide, the more books you buy in bulk, the more likely you're going to have more typos. I guess
I think that's some kind of law of the universe.
Yes, or the website, in the back will have crashed and not be the appropriate website or something crazy like that, and you're sending all these people to the wrong place. It happens. It happens in traditional publishing. It happens in hybrid publishing. It happens in self-publishing. It really does have to do with the brain. The brain wants to see what's supposed to be there, not what is there. And I tell people this all the time when they're like, oh, I hired a proofreader and that came back with 3 typos. I'm like, awesome. That's fantastic.
That's a great deal.
Right?
What happens. So Miss Grace, I don't know if you told Miss Crosswhite this uniqueness about you or if she knows it, but I think it's a beautiful segue when you're talking about proofreading and editing. So Jenn, Grace, and I recently did a separate chat just about publishing in general so that I can share information with authors that I work with about how awesome Publish Your Purpose is. And something that I learned about what makes you unique, it's super cool and something I think that we should highlight. And it's around the editing process. Can you tell them a little bit more about that?
like our selection matchmaking
Yeah,
process?
I think it's amazing. Yes.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, and so I will just start with a short story of how this process came to be. So before I founded this publishing company, which was in 2015, 2016, I was helping a good friend of mine with her book. And she was going the hybrid route with a publisher who shall remain nameless. And her book is about inclusion in the workplace, like a very like basic accepted fact that I think we all agree on, that people should feel included at work. And the editor that was paired with her could care less, like, not even could care less, but like fundamentally disagreed with the premise of her book. And it was rough. It was really rocky. And so there were a lot of just, the editor author relationship is a sacred one, and it has to be like, everyone has to be on the same page. So it ended up turning into a whole thing where she wasn't happy. The editor clearly was miserable. And so they went back and forth. And then the publisher was like, no, you have to work with that editor. And so the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I became very squeaky. And then we got another editor, and then we had to go through 3. So finally they landed on the third editor. And I had already written a number of books at this point. And I was already thinking about like packaging how to do it yourself. So this was all happening at the same time. And I was like, if I ever had a publishing company, I would do this completely differently. And so that's what Stephanie's alluding to. And so basically, and it's not even complicated, and I wish all publishers did this, but it's basically, we have a whole bunch of editors that are amazing human beings, and they all have different areas of interest and different skill sets, different types of editing, all of that fun stuff, and different availability. And when we have a new manuscript come in, before I even, present a proposal to whomever it is, I have our editors look at it and say, how long is it going to take you? What's it going to cost? What type of editing does it need? And the last piece is, why should you edit this manuscript? And it's that information that I bring back to our potential author to say, all right, here's 4 really incredible editors. Here's their feedback. Here's what they have to say. And here's why they want to work on your manuscript in particular. And what that does is it makes them feel seen. It validates, I think, a lot of times, because I think sometimes we all, well, Stephanie, maybe not you, but Jennifer, like, we're the first people to be like privy to this information. Like a lot of times it's someone with you, and then like might just be like you and the author. And then they're sending it to me, and they're having like a full-blown panic attack because they're like, oh my God, this is the first time someone else is seeing this. And so you have to handle that with care. Like, you can't be kind of cavalier about a situation like that. And so having editors come back, 4 of them, most of the time we have at least 4 people who are like, this is really good work, and here's why. It just makes them feel, I think, just more seen. And then they get to decide which editor they want to work with, because we've already vetted them. These are people we know, we trust, we work with all the time. You can't go wrong with anyone that we recommend, but they get that control. And that is something that a lot of hybrids absolutely don't do. And traditional, Lord knows traditional does not do that.
No. And I tell authors this all the time. You need someone who gets your voice, who gets what you're trying to say, who's going to be your cheerleader, who wants to make your book the best book it should be, not what the editor thinks it should be. And, obviously sometimes even not what the publisher thinks it should be. This is your particular story, your particular message that you want to get out, and you need people to support you in that and on that journey, and not be fighting with you on it. So I love that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. The only reason that there should be any fighting, and it's not fist fighting, but it's like, it's friendly fighting, because that the book, that there's potential that the author can get to. When there's nothing worse than somebody coming to me in the book marketing process, and I read their book and nobody did that. Nobody said, hey, there's a whole area that you could do better, or we could go farther, or we could reach more, or it's not marketable. And that is really important to me. I want to make sure that if it's important to the author, right? Because every author has different goals. But if they want their book to be marketable and sellable and viable and interesting and all of that stuff, sometimes, you do have to have a beautiful, honest, comfortable relationship with an editor who can share sometimes hard stuff, but through the lens of helping you. And I think
that happens. When there's that trust, when you already trust your editor and know they have your best interest, then you're going to be so much more likely to have that conversation, have those go well. So Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times people have such bad visions of what an editor does because they see what might be some kind of like trope in, you know, some kind of show where it's like just like redlining, and they feel like, and we all also know that there are editors who kind of operate like this, where like they feel like their value comes from how much they can redline a manuscript. Like that does exist. Fortunately, we've weeded those folks out. But, you know, it does happen. And I think, Stephanie, your point of like really making them dig deeper, right? Like that's the beauty of having an intimate relationship with your editor, with your project manager, with the publisher, with your marketing support system, with the ghostwriter. Like there needs to be a level of intimacy there. And I think that we often put that word in like only in like romantic content or context, but really there's like, I really think that's it, because that it allows us to kind of be more vulnerable and open up more, which makes it so much better of a read for the potential reader.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it.
Well, tell us a little bit about, you've hinted a little bit about how your process works, but if an author is going to come to you, what kind of books are you looking for? And how does your process work for the authors?
I'll do the abridged version. So we focus on nonfiction books and occasional memoirs. So we have a number of memoirs, but it's really nonfiction books. And it's really kind of a term that, you know, we got three good minds here. One of us can come up with a name for this, but the combination.
I was giggling because I know the name that we're, you know, that we not, is it the intake form that we've been talking about?
No, not even, but we did come up with that one too. Yep, that's a whole other can of worms. The idea of a nonfiction book and a memoir being blended into one product. That is all of our books. They are a combination of intense storytelling meets the nonfiction how-to piece. And I've yet to come up with a name. And Stephanie, you're a brilliant marketer, so I'm going to throw this on you, because I've been thinking about this for years and I've not found like the right wording. And we can change the whole landscape of the industry if we can figure this out. Because like those are the books that we work on. It's this blend of both, where we know that our authors are speakers, they're consultants, they're coaches, they're thought leaders. They're all of these things where it's not just a book. They're using their book in their business. Yes. They're building a platform with it. They have huge, in many ways, like big visions of what they're going to do and how they're going to impact people. But in order to do that, their story has to be there. Their story has to be present. Because I think, you know, if we think about the last book that you picked up and didn't finish, chances are it's because the author's voice was missing. Right? Like that's, and then it makes it very hard to market. And so that's where I think our superpowers kind of come in, because I tell everybody that I play three roles at all times: strategist, therapist, and cheerleader. So there's always going to be strategy, right? But there's also the therapist who's like, okay, I'm sorry I put you on the ledge. Let me take you off, or put you on the ledge. Like it kind of depends. I took somebody off yesterday that I had put on the previous week. My bad, right? Like I didn't mean to. But like to get that like real depth of someone's soul on the page, like you have to have that kind of push pull. And then like a cheerleader, because you want somebody who's like, you can do it, you've got this, like pep talking people the whole way through. So I think like that all kind of combines into this mixture as well, you know.
Okay,
I know I didn't actually.
I took a note. I got an idea.
What did you write?
I don't know if we'll riff off of it. So be thinking about it. It's funny when you mentioned storyteller. So I thought you work with nonfiction storytellers. That was the phrase I put together. But this like a tag, I think, is something that you could run with, where story and skill collides, because that's what it is. Think about it, because nonfiction is all about learning something that makes you like a better human, or you can take action on. So that's the skill, but story is what connects people. Where story and skill collide.
You are brilliant, and I'm writing it down in my red pen, which means I'm going to do something with this.
I love it. I have color coordinated pens too for different things. So I love that someone
see
you think the same. I love it.
Together.
It's true.
Well, this has been so fun. We are coming close to our time limit, but we always share a book at the end that we are finding really fascinating. This is not a traditional book. It's Strengths Finder.
Yes.
But there's a great, and we were talking about the Colby earlier, and I love all these different tests that help you figure out what you're good at and how to leverage that. He has a great quote in here. It says, "When we're able to put most of our energy into developing our natural talents, extraordinary room for growth exists." So a revision to the "you can be anything you want to be" maxim might be more accurate. you cannot be anything you want to be, but you can be a lot more of who you already are. And I love that, because I think that with publishing, with editing, with coaching, with all that we do, we are trying to really help amplify who and the message and everything that's already there. And I think we also find that the more we know about ourselves and our strengths, the better we are at leaning into those strengths and running with them and using them to the best of our ability. And our the mastermind that Stephanie and I are in, we use the Colby A, and that's been really fascinating to have this common language. But a lot of us also use StrengthsFinder, and that has also been really fascinating to figure out why we do what we do, and why we do things certain way, why we hate certain things. And so having that insight is really, really powerful. And having insight to yourself when you write a book, you get a lot of insight into yourself. So I feel like it goes really hand in hand with all that. So I'm so glad.
With that, Jen, just real quick, I think that that's relevant in when you pick your publishing partner too, because every publisher has different strengths, and that's something that, if you pick the right publisher, it will be like a lifelong relationship that can go beautifully. And, so don't just jump right in. And unless it's Jen, Miss Grace, we love her. So you can jump right in over there.
Please do.
Yes, please do. But be methodical and find the strengths of each person, right? Like, so Jen just shared that fiction is not her jam. So if you're a fiction author, don't go to the nonfiction storytelling team that stories and skill collect. Go to Jenn Crosswhite. She's happy to help you, right? So focus on, that kind of zone of genius. Speaking about books, Jenn Crosswhite, next month we are diving into, I can't believe next month is June. I don't want to admit it, but it's real.
It's crazy.
We are diving in. I know we're making a shift, not a shift. We're an opportunity. We're being a little more methodical. Next month, our topics for our LinkedIn Lives are very focused on the elements of a book to make sure that you are really taking advantage of that. So just so you know, we'll be talking about that and kicking that month's topic off next Wednesday.
With specifically how to choose a title and a subtitle next week. So those are very, very key things. You can never be too early thinking about those, and why they're important. And so I'm super excited to have that conversation. I just had it the other day with a client and publisher, and that was really fun. And that's one thing as an author, you may or may not understand how that whole process works. So we'll talk about that next week. And I just want to remind all of you, thank you, Jenn, Grace, for being here from Publisher Purpose. You can connect with all of us through LinkedIn. Of course, we're all on LinkedIn. Easy way to find us. And authors, your words have power, your book has power, and so does your message. And so we are inviting you to take that message to the page and beyond. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.